Space is not empty, is saturated, not with air, not with warmth, but with radiation. Invisible particles move at near-light speed, born in stellar explosions, accelerated by magnetic storms, flung outward by our own sunday. They pass through metal, through flesh, through DNA. On Earth, we are shielded. The atmosphere absorbs much of the incoming bombardment. The magnetosphere deflects charged particles, guiding them harmlessly around the planet. We live at the bottom of a protective ocean of air and magnetic field. In deep space, that protection disappears, and propulsion is not enough. We can design faster rockets. We can plan trajectories to Mars, to asteroids, to Jupiter's moons. But speed does not stop radiation. It merely shortens exposure. The deeper question is more difficult. How do we protect fragile biology in an environment that was never meant to sustain it? There are two primary threats beyond Earth orbit. The first is solar particle events, bursts of high-energy protons and heavier ions ejected during solar flares and coronal mass ejections. These storms can intensify radiation levels dramatically within hours. The second is galactic cosmic rays. These are not temporary. They originate far beyond the solar system, accelerated by supernova remnants and other extreme astrophysical phenomena. They consist of high-energy protons and heavy atomic nuclei traveling at relativistic speeds. When they strike spacecraft hulls or human tissue, they create secondary particle showers, multiplying damage. Cosmic rays are constant. They do not wait for warnings. On the International Space Station, astronauts remain partially protected by Earth's magnetic field. Radiation levels are higher than on the surface, but manageable. Missions to Mars, however, would leave that protective bubble entirely. A round-trip journey could take years. Radiation exposure would accumulate. DNA damage increases cancer risk. High doses can cause acute radiation sickness. Long-term exposure may affect the central nervous system, impair cognition, degrade vision, and alter cardiovascular health. Radiation is not a single event, it is cumulative erosion. The most straightforward solution is shielding. Place enough material between astronauts and space, and incoming particles lose energy before reaching tissue. On Earth, air provides that buffer. In space, we must carry it, but mass is expensive. Every kilogram launched requires fuel. Every additional layer of aluminum or steel increases cost and complexity. And traditional metals are not always optimal against high-energy particles. When heavy cosmic rays strike dense materials, they fragment, producing cascades of secondary radiation that can sometimes be more harmful than the original particle. Counterintuitively, lighter elements may perform better. Hydrogen-rich materials, like water or polyethylene, are more effective at slowing and absorbing certain high-energy particles. Water serves dual purposes: life support and shielding. Some spacecraft designs propose lining crew quarters with water tanks, creating a protective cocoon. In this way, necessity becomes defense. Another approach is architectural. Instead of shielding the entire spacecraft equally, concentrate protection where it matters most. A storm shelter within the vehicle, a small, heavily shielded compartment, could provide refuge during intense solar events. Astronauts would retreat there temporarily, minimizing exposure during peak radiation bursts. But galactic cosmic rays remain constant. Shielding thick enough to block them entirely would require impractical mass, meters of material. Interplanetary spacecraft cannot easily carry such bulk. So engineers consider magnetic shielding. If Earth deflects charged particles using a magnetic field, perhaps a spacecraft could do the same. Superconducting coils generating artificial magnetospheres could bend incoming radiation away from the habitat module. In theory, it mirrors planetary defense. In practice, It demands enormous power and stable cryogenic systems to maintain superconductivity. Magnetic fields strong enough to meaningfully deflect cosmic rays must be sustained for years without failure. Even then, neutral particles would pass through unaffected. Plasma shields have also been proposed, clouds of ionized gas maintained around a spacecraft to mimic atmospheric absorption. These concepts remain largely theoretical, requiring advances in power generation and plasma containment. There's also the biological approach. Rather than block radiation entirely, increase human tolerance. Some organisms on Earth demonstrate extraordinary radiation resistance. The bacterium Deinococcus radiodurans can survive doses that would be lethal to humans, repairing its DNA with remarkable efficiency. Tardigrades endure extreme environments, including high radiation. Understanding these mechanisms could inform genetic or pharmaceutical interventions, enhancing DNA repair pathways, mitigating oxidative stress, reducing cellular damage. But altering human biology raises ethical and medical complexities. Are we prepared to engineer ourselves for survival beyond Earth? Pharmaceutical countermeasures may provide partial solutions. Radioprotective drugs could reduce tissue damage during solar events. Antioxidants and targeted therapies might mitigate long-term effects. Yet no pill eliminates exposure. Time itself becomes a variable. Faster propulsion reduces cumulative dose. Nuclear thermal rockets, ion engines, or more advanced concepts shorten transit duration. A 3-year mission carries more risk than a 6-month journey. Propulsion and protection intertwine. Still, deep space remains unforgiving. Radiation does not announce itself visually. There's no sensation when a cosmic ray passes through the body. Damage occurs at microscopic scale: double-strand breaks in DNA, chromosomal rearrangements, molecular disruption. Cells repair. Most damage is corrected, but not all. Over time, errors accumulate. Cancer risk rises. Cognitive changes may emerge years later. The challenge is not survival during the mission alone. It is ensuring quality of life afterward. Beyond Mars, the problem intensifies. Missions to the outer solar system would expose crews for decades unless revolutionary propulsion emerges. Colonies on moons like Europa or Titan would require shielding not just during transit, but permanently. Underground habitats offer one answer. Regolith local soil can provide effective radiation shielding. Bury habitats beneath meters of Martian soil or lunar dust, and exposure drops dramatically. On planetary surfaces, gravity assists with structural stability. In transit, no such luxury exists. The spacecraft itself must become a shield. Design philosophies increasingly treat mass not merely as structural support, but as protective geometry. Fuel tanks positioned strategically. Supplies arranged to maximize shielding around living quarters. Rotational artificial gravity systems that also distribute mass effectively. Every design choice becomes dual purpose. Radiation protection is not a single subsystem. It is an integrated philosophy, and it forces a fundamental recognition. Space is not hostile in dramatic ways. It is hostile quietly. There are no roaring winds, no visible flammas, just particles, relentless, indifferent, ancient. Galactic cosmic rays have traveled for millions of years before intersecting a spacecraft hull. They are remnants of stellar death, fragments of supernova shockwaves crossing interstellar space. To journey outward is to step into that stream. Protecting astronauts from deep space radiation is not just an engineering problem. It is a confrontation with environment at cosmic scale. It demands interdisciplinary solutions: materials science, medicine, plasma physics, propulsion engineering. It demands redundancy. It demands humility, because even perfect shielding may not exist. Risk cannot be eliminated. It can only be reduced. And so future spacecraft may resemble layered sanctuaries, hydrogen-rich walls, internal shelters, magnetic fields humming silently, crews monitoring solar activity constantly. Exploration will proceed not in defiance of radiation, but in negotiation with it. We left Earth's cradle protected by magnetism and air. To venture deeper requires recreating that protection artificially, carrying fragments of Earth's defense with us. Atmosphere in tanks, magnetism in coils, biological resilience in altered cells. Beyond propulsion lies preservation, because reaching another world means little if the journey destroys those who attempt it. Space will not soften. The radiation will not cease. The only question is whether we can build vessels, and perhaps even bodies, capable of enduring it.